Hello and welcome to Devil's Advocate. Tomorrow sees the publication of a biography of Mohammed Ali Jinnah, which challenges the way we in India have seen the founder of Pakistan. It reassesses Nehru's role in partition. It sheds fresh light on the relationship between the early Gandhi and Jinnah. If my hunch is correct, this book will attract considerable attention and maybe even a fair amount of controversy. Today, in a special two-part interview with the author, I shall discuss the book and his conclusions. He is, of course, the former Defence, Foreign and Finance Minister of India and also a former soldier, Jaswant Singh. Mr. Jaswant Singh, let's start by establishing how you, as the author, view Mohammed Ali Jinnah. After reading your book, I get the feeling that you don't subscribe to the popular demonization of the man.
Oh, of course I don't. To that I don't subscribe. I was attracted by the personality, which has resulted in a book. If I was not drawn to the personality, I wouldn't have written the book. It's an intricate, complex personality of great character, determination.
And it's a personality that you found quite attractive.
Naturally, otherwise I wouldn't have ventured down the book.
And there was a sense in which you were drawn to Jinnah as you read and found out more about him.
I think that's a repetitious question because I found the personality sufficiently attractive to go and try and research it for 5 years. And I was drawn to it, yes.
Now, as a politician, Jinnah joined the Congress party long before he joined the Muslim League. And in fact, when he joined the Muslim League, he issued a statement to say that this in no way implies even the shadow of disloyalty to the national cause. Would you say that in the 20s and 30s and maybe even the early years of the 40s, Jinnah was a nationalist?
Oh, I think, really speaking, the acme of his nationalistic achievement was 1916 Lucknow Pact of Hindu-Muslim unity. And that's why Gopal Krishna Gokhale called him the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity.
And in your assessment as his biographer, for most, if not the predominant part of his life, Jinnah was a nationalist.
Oh, yes. Oh, he fought the British for an independent India. But he also fought resolutely and relentlessly for the interests of the Muslims of India.
Was Jinnah secular or was he communal?
It depends on how you view this word, secular, because I don't know whether secular is really fully applicable to a country like India. It's a word born of the socio-historical and religious history of Western Europe.
Let me put it like this. Many people believe that Jinnah hated Hindus and that he was a Hindu basher.
Totally wrong. That certainly was not. His principal agreement was with the Congress party. Repeatedly he says, and he says this even in the last statements to the press and to the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan.
So his problem was with Congress and with some Congress leaders, but he had no problem with Hindus.
No, he had no problems whatsoever with the Hindus because he was not in that sense until in the latter part of his years he became exactly what he charged Mahatma Gandhi with. He charged Mahatma Gandhi with being a demagogue.
He became one as well.
That was the most flattering way of emulating Gandhi. Died of her, of course, in Calcutta killings.
As you look back on Jinnah's life, would you say that he was a great man?
Oh, yes, because he created nothing out of something. And single-handedly, he stood up against the might of the Congress party's talent against the British, who didn't really like him.
So you are saying to me that he was a great man?
But I'm saying that it's not an interrogatory right there.
Let me put it like this.
Yes.
Do you admire Jinnah?
I admire certain aspects of his personality, his determination, and the will to rise. He was a self-made man. He was not like Mahatma Gandhi was the son of a divan.
Nehru was born to great wealth.
Great wealth. Nehru and all these were born to wealth of position. Jinnah created for himself a position. He carved out in Bombay a position in that cosmopolitan city. Being what he was, poor. He was so poor he had to walk to work. He lived in a hotel called Watson's in Bombay, it's still there. A W, only a W now, hangs rather forlornly. And he told, I think, one of the autobiographers, there's always room at the top, but there's no lift. And he never sought a lift.
Do you admire the way he created success for himself, born to poverty, but he ended up successful, rich?
I would admire that in any man, self-made man, who resolutely worked towards achieving what he had set up.
How seriously has India misunderstood Jinnah?
I think we have misunderstood because we needed to create a demon.
We needed a demon and he was the convenient scapegoat.
I don't know whether he was convenient. We needed a demon because in the 20th century, the most telling event in the entire subcontinent was the partition of the country.
I'll come to that in a moment's time. But first let me put to you the critical question your book raises. It asks, how is it that the man they considered the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity in 1916 had transformed 30 years later by 1947 into the Qaid-e-Azam of Pakistan? And your book suggests that underlying this was Congress's repeated inability to accept that Muslims feared domination by Hindus, that they wanted space in a reassuring system.
I think we are here is the central contest between minorityism and majoritarianism. With the loss of the Mughal Empire, the Muslims of India lost power. But majoritarianism didn't begin to influence them until 1947. And then they saw that unless they had a voice in their own political and economic and social destiny, they would be obliterated. That is the beginning. That is still the purpose.
Let me ask you this. Was Jinnah's fear or anxiety about Congress majoritarianism justified or understandable? Your book, in its account of how Congress refused to form a government with the League in UP in 1937, after fighting the election in alliance with that party, suggests that Jinnah's fear was substantial and real.
Yes, you have to go not just 37, which you have cited. See other examples. 46 elections. Jinnah's Muslim League wins all the Muslim seats, and yet they do not have sufficient number to be in office because the Congress party has, even without a single Muslim, enough to form a government, and they're outside of the government. So it was realized that simply contesting elections was not enough.
They needed certain assurances within the system to give them that space.
That's right. And those assurances amounted to, because that was a moving scale. It was first reservation, which I dispute, frankly. Reservations went from 25% to 33%, and then from reservations it became parity. No, we must be on equal term, parity to partition.
But all of this was search for space.
All of this was a search for some kind of autonomy of decision-making in their own social and economic destiny.
Now your book reveals how people like Gandhi, Rajagopalachari and Azad could understand the Jinnah fear or the Muslim fear of Congress majoritarianism, but Nehru simply couldn't understand this. Was Nehru insensitive to this?
No, he wasn't. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was a deeply sensitive man.
Then why couldn't he understand
But he was very deeply influenced by Western and European socialist thought of those days. For example, dominion status would have given independence, virtual independence to India in the 20s.
So in other words, Nehru's political thinking and his commitment to Western socialist thought meant that he couldn't understand Jinnah's concerns about majoritarianism. Nehru was a centralist, Jinnah was a decentralizer.